plant-powered Creative Roots gives kids the hydration they need with the fruit flavors they love and 1 gram of sugar. Find new Creative Roots in the kids' juice aisle.
Don't wanna wait around till Sunday. I'll give you something, make you shake it. It's just another side effect of the happiness that
It's a new kind of summer,
yeah.
but it is summer. Find exceptional offers at the Infinity Summer Event and experience Infinity Now. Service Summer Event and experience Infinity Now. Service, test drives, purchase and leasing that comes to you. Get 0% APR for up to 72 months on all new 2020 Infinity models.
Chill with safe, no contact service. Schedule at safelight.com.
Safe like repair, safe like replace.
Express yourself.
Find things you need
Express yourself.
and love
Express yourself.
and use every day.
Whatever you do,
That's what you find on Etsy.
do it good.
Shop Etsy for everyday finds.
This is not a normal adventure race.
Mountains, jungles, ocean, and it is brutal.
We can handle anything that comes because we're in it together.
This is the closest we ever get to being superheroes.
Take control over your back-to-school schedule by choosing the right sitter for your family at care.com.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks for making the time to talk.
I'm just right around the corner from you.
Oh, I love animals. I think string cheese and fruit.
Sí, con mi abuela. Oh, hide and seek, it's a classic.
I just like to get the kids up and outside.
At care.com, you can find the perfect sitter for your schedule and budget right near you. Get the back-to-school help you need. Care.com.
Stay home. Those words have lived in my heart for nearly 20 years. It's a reason why our nurses and caregivers deliver a higher standard of home care. Because if there's one thing we know, it's how much it helps to stay home.
These folks, they don't have time to go to the post office. They have businesses to grow.
At the beginning of your piece that Dan Coats was pressured to change the national intelligence estimate around. That's really big news about Dan Coats. To find out that that happened just before he was fired is itself a scoop. But then to find out that the national under Joe Maguire, it does seem like the sort of bending to the White House's will, equivocating on things that aren't equivocal, casting things in a way that it does feel like it's not just pressure, but it's effective pressure that's actually working on the IC.
Oh, for sure. And you know, I should also probably point out, Rachel, that the matter of Trump's presidency, and everyone knew in the NSC, in the West Wing, and certainly in the intelligence community, that to bring up the very matter of Russia 2020, and most of all, that it favored Trump, would be to call into question the legitimacy of this presidency. That's how he would receive this. And so because it was such an and then National Security Advisor John Bolton went to considerable lengths to keep this completely off the agenda. And when it would get on the agenda, for example, when there Kirstjen Nielsen, then the Secretary of Homeland Security, didn't get 5 minutes into it before Trump started interrupting her and asking her questions about the wall along the Mexican border.
It's, quote, around the time Trump started musing about delaying the election, aides and outside advisors began scrambling to ponder possible executive actions he could take to curb mail-in voting. Everything from directing the Postal Service to not deliver certain ballots to stopping local officials from counting them after Election Day. Quote, Trump has mused to aides about what executive orders, if any, he could sign to curb voting by mail. Some conservative allies have suggested Trump could try to stop local officials from counting remote ballots after Election Day and direct the Postal Service to not deliver certain ballots to voters using an emergency declaration. Yeah, it's not so much a re-election campaign, which implies that the goal is to earn more votes than his opponent. It's more of a playbook for how to use the levers of power. That most people vote by mail, then we will set about controlling and disrupting the mail. Because we can. That said, can they? The president and his allies will not be able to do this without a fight. The Democratic Party's foremost litigator on these issues joins us live here next. Stay with us.
Don't just think about where you're headed this summer. Think about how you get there. And now that you can lease or buy a new Lincoln remotely or in person, discovering that feeling has never been more effortless.
Accept our summer invitation to get 0% APR on all 2020 Lincoln vehicles. Only at your Lincoln dealer.
It's starting to happen every day. People are surprising themselves the moment they realize they can do more with less asthma. Thanks to Dupixent, the add-on treatment for specific types of moderate to severe asthma. Dupixent isn't for sudden breathing problems. It can improve lung function for better breathing in as little as 2 weeks and help prevent severe asthma attacks. It's not a steroid, but can help reduce or eliminate oral steroids. Dupixent can cause serious allergic reactions, including anaphylaxis. Get help right away if you have rash, shortness of breath, chest pain, tingling, or numbness in your limbs. Tell your doctor if you have a parasitic infection. And don't change or stop your asthma treatments, including steroids, without talking to your doctor. Do more with less asthma. Talk to your doctor today about Dupixent. If your financial situation has changed, we may be able to help.
Real progress? When you're affected by schizophrenia, you see it differently. It's in the small, everyday moments, and in the places you'd never expect. A little sign of hope, the feeling of freedom. And once these little moments start adding up, that's when it feels like so much more. It feels like real progress. Caplyta effectively treats adults with schizophrenia, and it's just one pill once a day with no titration.
Caplyta can cause serious side effects. Elderly dementia patients have increased risk of death or stroke. Call your doctor about fever, stiff muscles, or confusion, which can mean a life-threatening reaction, or uncontrollable muscle movements, which may be permanent. Dizziness upon standing, falls, and impaired judgment may occur. Most common side effects include sleepiness and dry mouth. High cholesterol and weight gain may occur, as can high blood sugar, which may be fatal.
In clinical trials, weight, cholesterol, and blood sugar changes were similar to placebo. So if you're affected by schizophrenia, have a conversation with your doctor about Caplyta today.
With SimpliSafe's Video Doorbell Pro, we're just a late-night cheese pizza with extra meatballs. With my smart lock, I can let him in. Entrez-vous. And I can lock up. 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 And I can lock up.
this pandemic election, a lot of their work right now is aimed specifically at safeguarding people's ability to vote through the mail. Well, today, Mark Elias issued a warning that the U.S. mail system, is not ready for November. And he says that is partly by design. Quote, the Trump administration has turned to weakening the Postal Service in a cynical effort to keep people from voting. Voters can't be forced to cross their fingers and hope that their ballots will count. Our job between now and Election Day is to make sure that we keep up the fight for voting rights, including making sure all ballots cast by mail are counted. Joining us now is Mark Elias. He's the founder of Democracy Docket. Mr. Elias, I really appreciate you taking the time. Thanks.
Happy to be here.
Is the stuff that is going on around the Postal Service, including this reporting today from Politico that the president and his advisors are thinking about executive orders to try to stop the counting of mail votes cast through the mail, is this just one in a long line of things like this that you've been fighting for years, or does this feel qualitatively more worrying than the usual stuff?
Well, I think it's qualitatively more worrying for two reasons. First of all, for the reasons you set out earlier, which is that Donald Trump has, at a minimum, authoritarian impulses and seems willing to violate every norm that any other president would abide by. The second, of course, is that we're going to have more voting by mail in 2020 than we've ever had before. So all of the flaws in the process will show up bigger, and all of the ballots that are at risk will grow in size.
The Postal Service is not a typical battleground. It's not a typical sort of arena in which we fight these things out. I mean, obviously, absentee ballots are a thing, and overseas mail-in ballots are a thing, and we've always conducted some proportion of the vote by mail. There are a few states that have been doing mostly vote by mail for a long time now. But the idea that a national election would have this sort of choke point in this one part of the federal government where we see the president trying to exert new control, it does feel new. As a tactical matter, as a litigator who fights these things, is this a new thing? Is this something new that you and your colleagues have to learn in terms of what levers there are to make sure that the post office does things right?
Yeah, this is entirely new. I mean, in that respect, I'm flabbergasted that we are in a circumstance in which Donald Trump first replaced the Postmaster General with a political crony, and now is taking step after step after step, including a Friday night massacre of 23 employees. Before that, there had already been resignations and replacements of the nonpartisan staff. And every day we get another indication that, as you say, the Postal Service is being weaponized to be a choke point against vote by mail. And that is unprecedented in our history. Make no mistake about it. We've had the Postal Service delivering ballots through wars, through a civil war, through Great Depression, and never, ever before have we seen a president or a political party try to weaponize it to systematically keep voters from voting. Americans,
in some ways, like to make fun of the Postal Service or complain about the mail and things like that. But I think, by and large, people love the Postal Service. And think of it as something that is, not only rooted in the Constitution, but something that is sort of a miracle. You can put a stamp on something, and it gets across the country almost always to where it needs to go, almost always in a surprisingly quick amount of time. I think people also have a soft spot for their letter carriers and for the people who they know are involved in this. They're integrated into American life and our infrastructure of daily life in a way that I think people have a soft spot for. Given that, and given the kind of stakes that you're describing, is there something that regular citizens can do to kind of to help in terms of protecting the Postal Service and to help in protecting this type of voting that we're all basically being forced into because of the epidemic?
Yeah, so I'd say two things. First of all, as you point out, the Postal Service is quite popular in red states and in blue states. And in fact, it's even more popular in some respects, or more necessary, in rural areas that tend to vote Republican. So one thing, a lot of people come on your show and say, call Congress or put pressure on Republican elected officials. This really is an area where putting pressure on Republican elected officials can make a difference, because their constituents, very oftentimes in red districts, really, really rely on the mail service. So that's one thing. The second is, everyone who wants to vote by mail should and should have confidence in it, but they need to make sure they vote by mail early. because what we're likely to see is not a stopping of the of the post office or a halting of vote by mail, but rather what we're seeing are systematic delays. The Trump administration is taking efforts to make the mails move slower around balloting. So people should make sure they are registered, make sure they apply for their absentee ballot early, and make sure when they get it, vote it right away, get it in. Don't wait until the last minute, because getting those ballots in on time is going to be really very important for November.
Mark Elias, Democratic lawyer on elections and voting rights, the founder of Democracy Docket. Mark, thank you so much for helping us and for your clarity on this tonight. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be right back. Stay with us.
Cranky-pated, a bad mood related to a sluggish gut. Miralax is different. It works naturally with the water in your body to unblock your gut. Free your gut and your mood will follow.
The Sleep Number 360 smart bed is on sale now.
Can it help keep me asleep?
Absolutely. It intelligently senses your movements and automatically adjusts to keep you both comfortable. It's our weekend special. Save up to $500 in select Sleep Number 360 smart beds, plus 0% interest for 48 months on all smart beds. Ends Monday.
This selenite gray is so pretty, isn't it?
Wow. Jim, could you pop the hood for us?
There she is.
Turbocharge, right?
Yes, it is.
Jim, could you kick the tires?
Oh, yes.
Could you change the color inside the car?
I'm sure. How about blue?
That's more cyan, but jump in the back seat, Jim. Act like my kids.
How much longer?
Exactly how they sound. It's got massaging seats too, right? Yeah.
Visit the Mercedes-Benz summer event or shop online at participating dealers. Benz summer event or shop online at participating dealers. Get 0% APR financing up to 36 months on select new and certified pre-owned models.
Hey, how does Apartments.com have the most?
Get 0% APR financing up to 36 months on select new and certified pre-owned models.
Exactly how they sound. It's got massaging seats too, right? Yeah.
Visit the Mercedes.
Exactly like the last 983 days.
Hey, can I come home?
Kevin. What a dedicated intern. He's just one of the reasons why more people find their place at Apartments.com than any other website.
Sir, we have an incoming call.
Send it to voicemail.
Done.
Apartments.com, the most popular place to find a place.
Age is just a number. And mine's unlisted.
Try Boost High Protein with 20 grams of protein for muscle health versus only 16 grams in Ensure High Protein. And now enjoy Boost High Protein.
And your car. We'll fix it right with no contact service you can trust.
So if you have auto glass damage, stay safe with Safe Light.
Safe Light Repair, Safe Light Replace.
Behind every 2020 census taker's mask is a friendly neighbor. They're teachers, retirees, vets, people committed to doing right by getting the count right. If you haven't responded yet, they'll be stopping by to ask some simple questions that will inform how billions in federal funds are spent on local services every year for the next decade.
Treatment for specific types of moderate to severe asthma. Dupixent isn't for sudden breathing problems. It can improve lung function for better breathing in as little as 2 weeks and help prevent severe asthma attacks. It's not a steroid, but can help reduce or eliminate oral steroids. Dupixent can cause serious allergic reactions, including anaphylaxis. Get help right away if you have rash, shortness of breath, chest pain, tingling, or numbness in your limbs. Tell your doctor if you have a parasitic infection. And don't change or stop your asthma treatments, including steroids, without talking to your doctor. Do more with less asthma. Talk to your doctor today about Dupixent. If your financial situation has changed, we may be able to help.
Real progress? When you're affected by schizophrenia, you see it differently. It's in the small, everyday moments, and in the places you'd never expect. A little sign of hope, the feeling of freedom. And once these little moments start adding up, that's when it feels like so much more. It feels like real progress. Caplyta effectively treats adults with schizophrenia, and it's just one pill once a day with no titration.
Caplyta can cause serious side effects. Elderly dementia patients have increased risk of death or stroke. Call your doctor about fever, stiff muscles, or confusion, which can mean a life-threatening reaction, or uncontrollable muscle movements, which may be permanent. Dizziness upon standing, falls, and impaired judgment may occur. Most common side effects include sleepiness and dry mouth. High cholesterol and weight gain may occur, as can high blood sugar, which may be fatal.
In clinical trials, weight, cholesterol, and blood sugar changes were similar to placebo. So if you're affected by schizophrenia, have a conversation with your doctor about Caplyta today.
With Simply Safe's Video Doorbell Pro,
inexplicably dropped that prosecution, even though the judge in that case says he will not be a rubber stamp for them doing so, and he wants to look into why exactly they're dropping that case. Well, tomorrow morning at 9:30 a.m., we'll all be able to listen in as 10 judges hear that appeal in the Mike Flynn case. Should be fascinating. All right, that does it for us tonight. See you again tomorrow. Now it's time for The Last Word with Lawrence O'Donnell. Good evening, Lawrence. Welcome back.
Good evening, Rachel. And, you know, the one regret I had about taking vacation last week was, of course, I was going to miss the big vice presidential announcement, Joe Biden's running mate. But now I have no regrets. No regrets at all. Glad I did it.
It was nice of Joe Biden to hold that for you so that you could have a more exciting return to work. Do you have any idea when it's going to happen? It has to be this week, right? It has to be between now and the weekend?
It doesn't have to be, but it probably will be, and kind of according to the liturgy should be. So I'm back, and just in time for the vice presidential. For the vice presidential. The vice presidential. Vice presidential. 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 Tonight, in the spirit of my friend and colleague Tim Russert, who famously told us on election night 2000 that it was all going to come down to Florida, Florida, Florida. This time, it's all going to come down to the post.
Seeing that just play out in such a magnified way because of the coronavirus.
Always has when delivering mail-in ballots. Donald Trump is going